Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I see a lot of questions and comments due to my other fitness channel, me having such a large, diverse international audience, including even a diverse audience within the United States, who do not really understand firearm culture in the United States, why it baffles people so much. And a lot of people seem to think it ranges from everything from us trying to compensate for small penises to just thinking weapons are cool and fun to shoot. You see all these arguments from abroad and actually even from younger generations in regions of the United States that don't teach history as much, that do not understand patriotism, and where people don't think of themselves as citizens of the Republic, and they don't understand our mindset and culture and where this actually comes from. So I'm going to try to explain this briefly. If you go back and look at basically the founding of this country, it was just over 200 years ago. The founding fathers were revolutionaries. They believed in government of the people. They believed in violent revolution. They used their firearms, the best weaponry they had at the time, to facilitate this. At the time period, those people's views on what people would term assault weapons, they were for them. They wanted every citizen to own them, and the evidence you saw was in the laws that they wrote, the way that they wrote them. Thomas Jefferson himself owned the greatest assault rifle of his era. He owned multiples of them. He had two of them. They were Austrian made. They were 22-round repeating muskets. Muskets that held 22 shots and could repeatedly fire them. And he gave those away as a gift to Lewis and Clark. Gatling guns, which were the machine guns of the era, were allowed to be owned by private citizens. There was no regulations, no laws against it. If you had the money to afford a Gatling gun or a cannon, you were allowed to have one. No questions about it. It was simply a matter of could you legally afford one or not. There was zero restrictions on weapons. So these men viewed them that way, and their intent, as they expressed over and over, the reason they wanted citizens to own weapons was for self-defense and as a defense against tyranny and invasions. And that's always been the case, and that is what most of us who grew up around firearms spent our entire lives being taught. If we grew up in patriotic families, or we grew up in families full of servicemen and things, which would be both in my case, every single one of my ancestors going back several generations was a veteran. They were a war veteran. My father, both my grandfathers, etc. And there are basic values that are instilled in you if you grow up in that sort of environment. And those values are that a citizen doesn't own weapons because he thinks they're fun or he thinks they're cool or because he's paranoid. He owns them because it is his absolute duty as a citizen, and that a man who isn't willing to defend his country immediately from all invaders or overthrow a tyrannical government violently with his weapons, and to help the military do that if need be, or fight against the military if need be, that if he is not willing to do those things, then he has no right to call himself an equal citizen of the Republic. He is not a free man. That a true citizen of the Republic is there ready to defend his home, his family, his neighborhood, his country, and is willing to own weapons and train on those weapons accordingly. And again, if he doesn't do so, he has no right to call himself a full citizen or an equal citizen. And that is the mindset that we have in America. It's not about the other thing. It's not because we think these things are cool or we have an emotional attachment to them. A lot of us do. I personally don't. It's not a big deal to me. I don't ever have an emotional attachment to any weapon I own. I buy and sell them and get new ones and do whatever I want. But I am always proficient on them, and I always have a supply of them handy. And it's because, again, that is the American firearm mindset, that it is about that we must own these weapons to protect our neighborhoods from the mass shooters, to protect our neighborhoods from the gangs, the cartels, from any foreign invaders, to back the military if that happens, and in the event that our government spirals out of control, and it's getting close to that point, that we must band together as a people and overthrow that government using the weaponry that we have available. And that is the entire point. It is about doing your duty as a citizen of a free republic, and that all free men are armed and able to defend themselves and defend their own nation and way of life. And that anyone who isn't armed is not a free man and not a citizen. And it is as simple as that. And anyone who attempts to disarm us should be viewed as an enemy of freedom and an enemy of our country to be killed in battle. And again, that's a pretty straightforward mindset. That is simply the mentality behind American patriotism. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.